What's up? It's City back with episode number 18 of Hawaii Behind the Records. So last week I didn't really know if we're gonna do tech house or techno, but it was sure that we're gonna do some electronic music and see how these genres are made. And yeah, if you give me the choice between tech house and techno, like most of the time I will choose techno. So this week we're gonna look into a techno beat, like we already did some techno tracks with the Unfinished Beats Volume 1. And yeah, this week we're gonna dive in a little bit deeper. And like the techno that I mean with that is like more the raw, deep hypnotic. So it's a lot of like hypnotic repetition. You have a lot of like industrial textures, and it's like in slowly evolving groove. So let's dive into the drums, and we always start with the BPMs, the beats per minute. And you have like this classic Detroit techno that's like 120 to 130 BPMs. Then you have like this peak techno that's 130 to 135 BPMs. Then you have the industrial or like hard techno that's from 135 to 145 BPMs. And then also we have like a little bit more minimal techno that's 120 to 125 BPMs. As always, when I do techno, like I like to stick to the 140 BPMs. It's like a range that I really like, and yeah, that's also how the beats in this week's video are gonna be. So let's start with the kick. The kick is deep and punchy and has the classic 4 on the floor rhythm where it hits on every beat. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, bam, 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 bam. The kick has no swing, so it's a static 4 on the floor, but you can add some saturation and distortion to add some more volume to the kick. The clap and the snare can be optional, so they don't really have to exist in a techno track, or they can be used as like breakdown energy to just have some switch ups. When we look at the hi-hats, we have the closed hat that hits in between the kick, so it's on the offbeat, so you always have that one and, so it's like bam, tack, bam, tack, bam, tack, one and one and one and. The closed hats are quite repetitive, and they can have some automation in like velocity or filter cutoff. If you look at the percussions, they are always layered with the hats. Those can be like rim shots or rides or metallic percussions, like just a metal clinking. And you can also add some ghost notes to add some more groove to it. And if you want to add some open hats, you can also do that just to add some more excitement at certain points in the track. In the non-electronic genres, we always looked at the bass together with the drums because they often were like similar. And now in the electronic genre, there's a little bit more emphasis on like the whole bass. So we're gonna add that on the instruments. So let's start looking at some beats, and then we're gonna be back for that part. Alright, so let's dive into the beats. So we start just as usual with the drums. Here you have the hi-hats, then also some percussions here. Then next we have the kick that comes in. And then I just added some like synthesizer noises, like they're not perfect. It's also the reason why I didn't pursue the track any further. But yeah, that's just like the first basic beats that you could arrange into a track. But yeah, let's look into another beat. Here we have another track, and here I started in a different way. Like I just started with bass loop and then like arranged it a little bit. Let's listen in. So basically, I think I recorded the bass drums on the Syntakt, just to have something, and then I wanted to like add different kind of bass lines to play around there, because first I just want to have like the drum pattern, and then I also wanted to play a little bit with variation, but like, I don't know, it wasn't really what I was looking for. Here also some more variation. I don't know, I think I just played a little bit with the piano that I had like connected to the Mac. I could just play in the MIDI and like, yeah, just wanted to play with some switch ups. But yeah, just like a basic beat. So let's dive into the instruments and the melodic parts, and here we start with the bass. The bass in techno music is subtle and can be like a rumble low end bass that like is supporting the kick, or it can be like a one note drone or just like rhythmic steps. If you have these long basses in techno music, you can use a trick where you just side chain it with the kick. This basically means that every time when the kick hits, the bass goes down on the volume, or you can like filter out some frequencies just for the kick to come through more and be more punchy. The instruments and melodic elements in techno music are often minimalistic and repetitive. They don't really evolve through melodic change, but they evolve through automation. By evolving through automation, I mean that you don't really change the melodic elements with the chords, but you can change like the filter cutoff, you can change like certain values on the effects that you have, or like on the synthesizer, detune it a little bit, just to have some difference and change within the track without having to change the melodic elements too much. Other melodic elements can be like steps from other instruments or some noise sweeps and risers. You can use some distorted synth loops or some synth pulses that are syncopated just to add some more groove to the mix, or just use some atmospheric drones and pads. So like I already mentioned, like the melodies are repetitive and simple, so you can use 2 to 4 note loops and just automate like the filter cutoff or change like the delay or modulation over time. The effects and textures that are used in techno music are often like noise sweeps or some white noise. You can use cymbal swells or throw some tape delay on it. You can also like distort the synths, hats, or the whole mix, or you can add some reverb automation, especially in the breakdown, to make it more spacey. You can also add some short vocal chops that you can pitch, reverse and repeat, or just use some like mechanical, metallic or analog grit, which are basically like just metallic noises like a clinging or something. And then you can also add some field recording as subtle background ambience music, where you just like modulate the texture over time of the track. At last we're gonna look at the structuring and arrangement of the track, and here we can see that we just have some loop-based repetition that evolves through time. As with every track, we're gonna start with the intro. Here we have 16 to 32 bars, and you can just start with the kick and the hats and just some background texture. The second part is basically the groove layer. This is 32 bars. Here you can add some percussions into it. You can add the first synth steps or drones, or just some ambient pads. Next is like the energy lift, which is like 32 bars. Here you have some filtered noise sweeps and just some effects, and also the bass comes in. After that is the peak or the drop, which is also like 32 bars. Here you have the full rhythm, also the synth loop comes in and reaches its peak. Next is the breakdown, which is basically 16 to 32 bars. Here the kick can drop out and you can add some spacey effects like the reverb and build some tension for the next drop. After that we're gonna return to the peak or the drop again, which is 32 bars. Basically it's the same as the first one, but just bigger and heavier, where you can add in some elements or just like tune up the effects a little bit. In the end we have the outro, which is like 16 to 32 bars, and here you can just slowly strip away all the elements and fade out the track. When you structure and arrange tracks, it's important that you just add or remove one element at a time, and that every like 4, 8 or 16 bars, to have this like hypnotic repetitive vibe. The variation in techno music doesn't really come from melodic changes, it's more like the automation of the effects. So you can just like change the filter cutoff on the synths, or just like change the delay and just do some modulation with that. So that's the theory that I came up with for techno music. Now we're gonna look into another beat, and as always, like I don't really do the things as I plan them out in here. Like this week's track is gonna be more like melodic techno beat and not like really a hardcore raw deep hypnotic techno beat, but yeah, it is what it is, and I hope you can still enjoy it. So let's dive into the beat. So this is the beat from this Saturday's track from the Unfinished Beats Volume 2. We're just gonna listen in a little bit. And like here you can already see, like from the names, those are like splice samples. I just wanted to have like sounds that fit the genre, that I could just play around with the arrangement and everything. And yeah, also a little bit of a side note, like on this MacBook that I'm recording right now, it's still like an old one with like the Intel chips, and if I turn on Serum 2, it just sounds kind of weird. So this is not the real synthesizer, like my MacBook can't handle it. But for this Saturday, you're gonna see and hear the full version of the track with like properly exported everything. And yeah, the track will be available as free download as always. So yeah, enjoy the track and see you in the TLDR. Let's wrap this up with the TLDR. Techno music can be in the range from 120 to 145 BPMs. The kick is a punchy 4 on the floor kick. The claps and the snare are really optional, you don't really have to use them. The closed heads are on the offbeat and they are repetitive. You can layer them with some percussions, and the bass is a subtle rumble bass, which can be a drone or a step. The instruments evolve with automation, and those can be like synths, pads and drones, and they are in a simple 2 to 4 chord loop that you can repeat over and over again. You can also add some sweep and white noises, you can add distortion and reverb to the whole mix and automate that, and you can also add some short vocal chops, some metallic grid and also field recordings. And the song structure is just like loop based that you arrange and evolve with automation over time. Alright, that's it for this week's HWY Behind the Records. Next week we're gonna be back with another electronic genre, and this is gonna be bass house. So excited for that, and until then, stay healthy, have a nice week, and yeah, see you, bye!